This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1551, Comic Talk!
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons and everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek, uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Adam Murdo.
I'm Kevin Moyer.
And I'm Chris Everly.
And welcome to the show. Woo-hoo. Yes, our Comic Talk episode. And as we're recording, this is actually the day before tax day.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Thanks. I'm trying to be in a good mood.
Didn't we dump some tea overboard years ago so we didn't have to pay taxes?
Yeah. Why? First of all, don't pound the table.
Representation, anyway.
The table's ticking me off.
And that was over 200 some years ago. Were you there?
Maybe.
I don't think you were.
In spirit, maybe.
Anyway, for this Comic Talk episode, we will focus mostly towards the back half of the episode on the recent Netflix Daredevil series. We've seen some of it, all of it, or none of it, many of our hosts here. So we will keep that in mind when talking to you about spoilers. But, you know, again, as always, forewarned is forearmed. So that's going to be the bulk of our discussion. I have a few other topics to throw out there, of course. And welcome back, Kevin Moyer. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, thank you.
I kind of hoping you'd come for this episode. I really was.
Well, yeah, and I obviously wanted to be part of it as well. You know, it's obviously something near and dear. So
yes, I saw your T-shirt.
Yeah, I saw your T-shirt. It was cool.
Yeah.
What was that? Murdoch and Nelson and Murdoch, attorneys at law since like 64?
Yeah, I had put Nelson and Murdoch, attorneys at law, and then underneath I put established 1964 and New York City above it as well.
Right.
So I did that.
Nice.
Actually, I had a lot of response.
Yeah?
From them. I had a lot of people message me and stuff on Facebook. Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that? You know, and I told everybody like I made them. You know, so actually I had a lot of people that were interested in buying them. So I actually put up, and now I put up a custom ink group thing for people to order. If they want it, you can order.
Oh,
it.
Neat.
Have to look at that.
You just have to. I can send you a link. You know, anybody that's interested, you just send me a message on Facebook, and I can send you the link, and then you can just click in. I never did it before. This is new to me. You know, I've made custom ink purchases, but I never did a group thing like this. But basically, it's just you open up that link, and it'll show you the picture of the shirt. And then on the right-hand side, you just click down, and it pulls the size and your quantity, and then you can pay right away.
Cool.
So it's, you know, anybody can order them. I don't make anything, obviously. It's just, you know, anybody wants one, then, you know, there it is. So
Excellent.
I'll send you a message.
Well, he's right there. You can talk to him.
Send me a message.
All right. Well, before we get too far off the track even more, first, a word from our sponsors. This episode of Comic Geek Speak is brought to you by Geek Nation Tours. Geek Nation Tours is off to New York, Comic Geek style. They will be headed to not only the uber awesome New York Comic Con this October, but also will be exploring New York City through a geek's eyes. Tour participants will see the regular New York City tourist attractions, like, you know, Hell's Kitchen, or like locations, I should say, like Hell's Kitchen from Daredevil, of course, Central Park, Times Square. But we'll even stop by the fictional dresses of the Fantastic Four, you know, where Uncle Ben was shot, and even the Frick Museum, which was the inspiration for the Avengers Mansion. Also the Daily Bugle, and much, much more. They even will be hitting a couple of comic book shops, like this Jay and Silent Bob's, seen on Comic Book Men on AMC. And this is happening from Tuesday, October 6th through Monday, October 12th of 2015. And what is included are all accommodations, all transfers, entry fee to the New York Comic Con, of course, which can be a tough ticket to get, Top of the Rock viewing area, a New York by foot tour, all taxes, Metro Pass, a welcome dinner, where you never know who will show up at the welcome dinner, a Hell's Kitchen dinner, lunch at the downtown, a farewell dinner, free hotel Wi-Fi, exclusive Geek Nation Tours, New York Comic Con bowling shirt as well. So check them out. That's geeknationtours.com. The episode is also brought to you by Scribd. Scribd is like Netflix for comics. Here's Netflix again. It's like Netflix for comics. With a subscription, you'll get access to more than 10,000 comics from Marvel, IDW Top Shelf, Valiant, Dynamite, Archie, and more. They're the only subscription service that gives you that variety for one monthly price. On top of that, you'll get unlimited access to their huge library of ebooks and audiobooks, more than 1 million titles altogether, all available anytime, anywhere. So head over to scribd.com/comicgeekspeak to get started with a free month. Even more importantly, Scribd makes sure you can find your way to comics you're going to love. They've got hundreds of collections curated by their team of editors, and as you read, they'll tailor recommendations to you based on other titles, you've loved, or not. So go to scribd.com/comicgeekspeak right now, and they'll get you a free month trial. That's 30 days of unlimited reading, and you'll be supporting this show, so it's a win-win situation. That's scribd.com/comicgeekspeak. All right, well, as I mentioned, as recorded, it's day before tax day, April 14th, and just came across a lot of news today, found out that yesterday, on Monday, Herb Trimpe passed away.
Yes,
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't see
didn't know
that.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's kind of fun because, a lot of people had seen him just over the weekend at the.
Because I think he was at the East Coast Comicon
Yeah.
reviewer.
yeah, he was
center.
at that terribly run show I was at. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk to about that in a minute.
That's right. Yeah, Mr. Phil posted on our forum that he'd seen Herb at that convention just the day before he passed away.
Yeah, a
just
lot of people did. Yeah, a lot of
talking and signing autographs and chatting happily with his fans.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a shame.
Yeah, it is.
Is there a
and-
cause of death, Pants?
No, I don't see it, but he was 75. And Mark Evan Year, unfortunately, does very good obituaries. I know he doesn't like to be known for that, but he really does. On his news from me, he mentioned he passed away Monday night, and of course he worked on tons of comics and characters during his career, but probably best known for his run on the Hulk, of course, and then also the first appearance of Wolverine in the comics. Mm-hmm. But again, with so many creators. Unfortunately, when they pass away, you learn so many things about them you might not have known. Of course, he was Herb Trimpe was in the Air Force in the 60s. Mm-hmm. I'm reading here. Of course, he worked on Iron Man, Cap, Sergeant Fury, Ant-Man, Killraven, Machine Man, Godzilla, G.I. Joe, Shogun Warriors, Transformers, so many more.
Pants, let me jump in for a minute. We should also point out that you mentioned the Air Force. He flew planes as a hobby. He was a passionate pilot. He was also an art teacher later in his life. Once Marvel, shamefully kind of cut him loose on the latter part of his career.
He wrote an article from the New York Times about that as well.
Yeah, which I've read. It's a great article. And I actually have a sketch I commissioned from him a couple years ago. They did of Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe, and one of the nicest creators I've ever met. Very personable, very friendly. Because some of them really don't even want to know you, but. And in my emails with him when I ordered the commission, just a very nice guy, and I'm really sorry to hear that because he's a vitally important, sort of latter Silver Age, Bronze Age comic book artist. So that stinks. And Tomorrow has a book coming out about his whole career. Just shortly, it may already be available. It's a whole retrospective. I hope he got a chance to see it before he passed.
Yeah, and again, just reading. This article from Mark Evan Year, he became of course, he's, big guest at comic book conventions where, I saw him at London a couple of years ago. I think it was the first time I remember seeing him at a convention. And he had like a constant queue over in London. And we talked about how friendly he was. Absolutely. He would talk to all the fans. That was wonderful to see. But he became a chaplain later in life. And after 9/11, he worked, with Ground Zero as a chaplain, helping people cope with what had happened there.
That I did not know.
No. And he even wrote a book about his experiences. So yeah, just we always say this, that if you see a creator, whether it's a convention or wherever, and you like their work, just go up and say hi and thank them. Just something simple as that can go such a long way, and you just never know when you might never get that chance again. Because like we talked about, he was just at the convention this past weekend.
Yeah.
I think they're even I saw somewhere that they were doing some interviews with him for, like a documentary on things. So it's like, just like that. I mean, yeah, he was 75, but still, obviously, he was out there going to conventions.
Yeah. Such a shame.
Yes. Well, Chris, I did have in my notes. I did want to ask you about the convention. I didn't know it was.
Maybe not.
Well,
No, I'm happy to talk about it.
but I was considering heading up there because it had a great guest list. Of course, Herb Trimpe and so many. It is Trimpe. I did see that. I think
Yes, it is Trimpe. That's correct.
Stan Lee said rhymed with Shrimpy at some point. But so yeah, Chris, tell us about your experience at the East Coast Comicon.
Well, I mean, I from a business standpoint, I was there to promote the forthcoming FCBD event at our own shop, and also, to make money. And we made some money. I should point out this show used to be the Asbury Park Comic-Con, which
Right.
had been the past 2 years. And that show was one of the best shows I've ever done, outside of my own events. I did wonderfully at those two shows down at Asbury in terms of profit, and also just having a great time, and just the charm of having a show right near the beach like that. Right off the bat, the relocation, I think, hurt it terribly.
where was it located exactly? Was it in?
What's that?
Where was it located?
It's the Meadowlands Exposition Center in Seacaucus. Now, I say this as someone who's lived in New Jersey his whole life and probably will die in New Jersey. When you shift from Asbury Park to Seacaucus,
Yeah.
it's no offense to anybody who lives in that part of New Jersey, but
It's night and day.
it's a dramatic change. And so there was that, and when I got there, I'm glad I'm in shape, because the ramp we had to get up to get our dollies and hand trucks up into the exposition center was essentially, basically a concrete cliff. And you have the usual problems with parking and all that kind of stuff. It was. I got in there. I bought 2 tables. They only had one available for me. To their credit, they did fix that, but I lost a half hour of loading time waiting for that. You walk in, and they had one person who was having trouble signing everybody in. I mean, a line of artists and vendors waiting to get in to bring their stuff in. You have one person signing everybody in. And that was a bad sign right off the bat. You never saw volunteers when you're at your table. And, the crowd was not there. I mean, there was a crowd, but, the Asbury show had literally thousands of people. And, this exposition center, and I have to say this, and Pants, I know you can speak to this, there's so many goddamn comic book shows now.
Oh, yeah.
That I think there were multiple ones going on that weekend, too. There's such an oversaturation.
Oh, sure.
And I think why Asbury was so great was because it was not a typical show in terms of its locale, its tone, its atmosphere. This was another, I'm in a very cheerless concrete box, like every other comic book show they do today. And, if I'm spending $500 on 2 tables, you better fill that goddamn space. And the crowd was just not there. And we were supposed to be there till 6 on Sunday. People were fleeing by 4.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
In terms of vendors, because it's time, it's money, it's backbreaking work,
Right.
bringing stuff in and out, and I don't want to sound too negative, because again, there's so many shows, it's so competitive.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't pretend to know why they relocated it. I'm sure there's whatever the politics were of that, and I don't know who was involved anymore and who wasn't, and there's always these backstories to these shows and their own dramas. But I've been doing comic book shows for 20 years. Even before I opened a store, I did different local comic book shows. It's one of the worst run I've ever been in.
Ooh.
And when you're spending that kind of money and that kind of time, which could have been spent with my family on a beautiful Sunday, and you have a very large venue and there's plenty of space to walk around, which means there's not a lot of people in there. No, Pants, you're lucky you didn't go. Now, having said that, if I'd just been there as a customer, I got some great stuff there. And I don't want to say to a customer, don't go, but I can only give the perspective of someone who this is part of my living, and I will never go back. If they relocate back to Asbury, I would certainly consider it, because that show was tremendous. The last 2 years I've done it, I really enjoyed it. But it felt very slipshod, very, if you're at a table and you spent that kind of money, you want someone to stop by once and say, hey, how's it going? That's just good business. and never happened. And I don't need to be handheld, but it's business, okay? And these tables were not cheap. And this is another reason of why I don't do shows in New Jersey anymore as like my own show, because everything is so off the chart expensive.
Yeah.
And I did okay, and a couple other guys did okay. Why? Because we sell things cheaply. Because nobody has money. When are people going to understand that the average person cannot walk into a show with a huge billfold and like drop it on this and that? So these table prices, which do not correspond to the reality of the average person coming into a show to shop. And I mean, I don't even necessarily blame the exhibitor or the promoter, because I'm sure that place was a fortune to rent.
Oh my God! I can only imagine, because you're outside of New York City there.
Yeah, but I've kind of had it with. I mean, I have a couple things lined up that are more local, and I'll always do my friend. If you want to go to a real comic show in this state or in this whole area, my friend John Paul, NewJerseyComicBookShows.com. That's a real comic show. Small, affordable. Yep. Almost every vendor gives you a good deal, and it's just filled with comics. Not C-rate movie stars who had 5 minutes in a movie or none of that nonsense. It's comics, and that's a comic show as far as I'm concerned. NewJerseyComicBookShows.com. I urge everyone to check them out. But these shows are a lot of work, and plus, I don't know why they had it on Sunday till 6 p.m. They didn't even need to have it on Sunday.
Wow.
There was no reason to have that show on a Sunday. You could tell within a few hours of Sunday this show was done. So I know I'm sounding a little harsh here, but you know what? It's $500.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to say about that.
Well, sorry you didn't have a better time. I
probably had a better time than a lot of other vendors.
Okay. Well, I was curious because, MegaCon was a big convention. It happened last weekend as well. And, I love conventions, and, I've been on both sides of the aisle, if you will, for conventions. And I'm just very curious about, this convention was maybe a 2.5-hour drive. I was considering going up, but actually, now I'm glad I didn't.
Well, I picked up a customer of mine who's a really nice guy, and he has his own business now. He's involved in comics selling and so forth. He had a wonderful setup, and he's a smart businessman. He has a warehouse full of comics, and he was blowing out comics for $1 a piece, Bronze Age through to the present, and he was giving people deals if they bought a larger number. He did really well because people are excited and can afford stuff like that. So I had a much smaller display, but I had my Toon tumblers and my used trades. I did okay. I mean, people love Toon tumblers especially. I did all right. But to give you some perspective, at the Asbury shows, I made 3 times more than what I made at this show.
Wow.
So, and again, to be fair, I think part of that again is just the oversaturation. I think wasn't Mocha last weekend?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So
again another. There's just New York. Yeah.
We got to calm down a bit, because it's kind of killing from a business perspective, and if you're a vendor and also promoter, it's getting to the point where there's just too many shows, and I think it's making it harder for I saw artists who by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock Sunday they were gone.
Oh, jeez.
The crowd just wasn't there. There were people. I don't mean to say there wasn't, but not enough for what people were paying to exhibit there. So I'm scaling back, and I'm just going to stick with my friend John and a couple other small shows we'll be doing over the next few months. But I've had it with these big shows. I really have. That they're so expensive, and there's a very good chance, just regardless of how hard you work and promote, that you're not going to make your money back, let alone a decent profit. I think it's just oversaturation.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a topic for another time, because we've all been to conventions and we all see what's going on with them. And yeah, I've questioned myself. Well, yeah, at what point does the bubble burst with all these conventions?
It bursts when people realize, oh God, I'm not making any money.
Yeah, I guess that's what talks, right?
And look, I would be happy if it was feasible to just go from show to show. I'd much rather do that than a lot of other things at this point in terms of my day job. But that's you're not going to make out, because I shouldn't say that. I mean, you may have the right combination of goods and the right prices where you can, but it's really hard now, and when you're at a venue that it's tough to park for the vendor, when they're taping off entrances on Sunday and you can't even get in when you want with your stuff, and then I mean a weak person would have had a heart attack carting a hand truck up that concrete incline to get into that building. The guards, I don't know if it's just me, but it just seems like security guards are often overzealous at every comic book show I've ever been at. They're just making. One guard was very nice and very helpful. Like he let me use a hand truck they had, because otherwise, I think he had to spend like $50 to use one of their hand trucks, which I mean, obviously no one was going to do. That's New Jersey union nonsense, but oof.
Feel better?
I feel fine. I just, I mean, to be fair, I'm sure a lot of it was out of their control, but there are little things you can do to make it better for the people who are spending large amounts of money to vend. And look, we all know these independent artists, a lot of times they're just sitting there fighting to get people to come to their table and notice their work. And that's very, very difficult. I mean, it's easier for me because I'm selling stuff, so a lot of that speaks for yourself. But, these artists, that's hard. And we've all seen them sitting there and trying to push their work, and, you got to get the people in there. I mean, it's just – that's just the way it is. People are sacrificing massive amounts of time and money and a lot of effort. And, it just didn't cut the mustard. So.
You said MegaCon. I got a nice post. I don't know how many people saw it on Facebook of Wayne Cordova sent me a selfie with some friends, and it was two cosplayers. It was Booster and Beetle. It was a great pic. So that gave me a big old smile over the weekend.
One thing I've got to mention a little while ago, we actually got a package from the UK. Came to us, and Shane has it right next to here. It says, to the geeks, well, those who are Doctor Who fans, I came across these.
Don't groan.
I came across these and thought you might appreciate them. They're part of a fortnightly series in the UK. Regards, Jeff. I believe it's Jeff Hunkle. It goes, P.S. Hope they survive the postal journey. And Shane, they're just they're not little at all. They're
not.
Hefty
They're
weight
heavy
to them. Well, figurines. There's a TARDIS. There's a couple of the doctors in there. There's a Weeping Angel we got, and I think
Daleks.
I think one of the Angel's wings may have fallen off.
couple Cybermen.
Yeah. So Jeff, thank you very much. We got it a while ago. I just forgot to mention because Shane cleaned up, and I didn't see where I put the box. The box up top one of the shelves here.
I put it safely on a shelf so that it wouldn't get trampled.
Get that put that on the desk here somewhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh, right in front of your stuff. Sure, that's fine.
Well, between here somewhere. Once I clean up the rest of the mess,
that's fine.
Calm down.
Yeah,
Well, and so before we get into the Daredevil talk, since actually Adam has not seen that, I don't want to have him left out of the episode here. So.
Arms defiantly positioned in air.
Well, he was all like, oh no, Reza.
Caught in the searchlight.
So once again, it's time for Muddle the MD, our trivia contest, and right now up for grabs since our last episode.
The Chris Somney Superman sketch is safely on its way to Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah, we still have some artwork given to us by an anonymous listener. So up for grabs right now is a Will Spartaccio Hulk profile sketch on a backing board. It is
not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Yeah. So this Muddle the MD was sent in by James T. Mr. Cosmic on the forums.
Oh, all right.
He says, hello, I'm here to take another crack at muddling the MD. He goes, if I'm successful, please refrain from sending me a prize as I'm a relatively recent winner. He loves the volume of all new issues he got.
Oh, great.
Well, maybe he'll reconsider if he does muddle in when he hears what the prize is. So we'll find out. So question 1, DC pre-1970. The Flash, number 158. Question, Flash encounters a weapons-running alien villain named the Breakaway Bandit. This menace can separate his body into component parts without harm, and he doesn't even have to say split.
I get that.
At one point, it's revealed that the bandit's brain is not found inside his head. It's actually located in what other part of his body?
Oh, well. There's a very tempting answer for this question, but
I was thinking probably the same thing.
I'm going to avoid that, though. Let's see. How about his foot?
No, his hair.
His hair?
His hair.
That's not where I was
That's
going.
creative.
What's the name of the character?
The Breakaway Bandit.
The Breakaway Bandit. Because you love all these crazy one-off villains,
No,
more or
it
less.
sounds a little like the arm fall off boy who was rejected for Legion membership once upon a time.
My guess would have been the little Breakaway Bandit.
All right, question.
And the Split reference, by the way, that was from the crappy 60s knockoff version of Captain Marvel. I'm trying to remember. MF Publications, I think, was the name of the publisher. It was an alien android who had the power to make his arms and legs fly around and do his fighting for him whenever he said the magic word split.
Okay. Well, question 2, Marvel, 1970 to 2000. It says Marvel Premiere, issue number 5. Agamotto, the all-seeing, omnipotent Oshur, Hoary Hogarth, the Vishanti... Hogarth, thank you. My vision is just leaving me quickly. The Vishanti made their first on-panel appearance to Doctor Strange in Marvel Premiere number 5. What were the 3 flashy guises the Vishanti chose?
That's tricky because Agamotto has appeared in a couple of different guises that I can think of. I'm going to assume that the one they used for his official Handbook of the Marvel Universe Deluxe entry is going to be what they used the first time out. But it was... And I can't even think of what... I can't really envision what Hogarth looked like. I'm going to say an old man, a pink-haired young lady, and the head of a large tiger-like giant cat.
You know what? I'm going to accept that because it says here... He says a green woman, a bug-eyed man, and a cat. And he says woman, man, cat is good enough. So I say that's good.
Yay.
Good.
Yeah.
That's very generous of you, Pants, and also James.
Well, it's in the notes here. Otherwise, I would be more... But no. You're good. It's all for fun anyway.
Thank goodness. And later on, Agamotto manifested as a caterpillar, but I guess Big Cat is what they went with the first time out.
Okay. Independent 2001 to present. The Manhattan Projects. Which 2 scientists are at one point or another... Let me try this again. Which 2 scientists are, at one point or another, replaced by evil doppelgangers?
Okay. Boy. Oppenheimer? Okay, I see. One finger aloft. I got one of them. Okay, now the other one. I can't think of the other name that I'm trying to come up with, so I'm going to just say Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein.
Okay, good. I'm glad I couldn't think of that other guy.
Robert Oppenheimer was killed and eaten by his evil twin brother Joseph, taking his place and joined the Manhattan Project.
Yes, I read the first issue of that, so
Yes.
I remember that happening.
Albert Einstein was replaced by Albrecht Einstein, an evil double from another dimension. So we actually have a legal now, 100% legal.
Okay, so I don't need to have to
non-muddling.
depend on the kindness of Mr. Cosmic this
Oh,
time.
all right. So,
But thank you very much for playing, James, and thank you for being willing to forfeit your prize. And thanks especially for the Split reference. It brightened my night.
yes. So better luck next time. All right. Well,
I think Murd ought to play the lottery for as much as he just guesses and pulls something out of his ass.
before
Pants, actually, before we get into Daredevil,
Yes.
a couple things I wanted to point out. I forgot to mention. I should have at the show. One of the bright points of the show, because it's always nice to meet people. I met Library Boy.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Bill Dowdy, correct?
Bill Dowdy, who I'd never met in person.
Who- I think is now Library Man, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and it was wonderful to meet him. Such a nice guy. Great to meet you, sir. I'm sure you'll be listening to this at some point. And just an exemplar of, I think, of the kind of wonderful listeners that we have. So that was a good time. And also, because there was, some real slow moments at the show, I read Matt Wagner's The Shadow Year 1, which was a miniseries, I think that came out, I want to say, last year. And I just picked it up. They released it as an omnibus hardcover, all 10 issues. Wagner wrote it, and Wilfredo Torres did the artwork. This was tremendous. It's Wagner taking the Shadow source material and then sort of doing his own. I don't want to call it. It's not modern. I mean, it's very much in the time period. But let's say it's his own sort of revamped take on the origin of the Shadow. Like he takes all the Shadow ingredients, puts it into one story, essentially. The artwork is beautiful, and I've yet to read something by Matt Wagner that has not been good. And I want to know what Matt thought of this. I was riveted by this. The Shadow's lover, Margot, is really the narrator of the story. And it's just all the classic elements of the Shadow's origin, all nicely sort of condensed and between two covers. And if anybody's interested in the Shadow or pulp, I highly recommend you pick this up. It's the Shadow Year One. And there's an omnibus hardcover. I think it's coming out as a softcover soon as well. Magnificent. Highest recommendation. In fact, if this had come out last year, and I forgot if it did or not, if I had read this, I would have nominated it for Best Miniseries.
Wow.
Really good.
Good stuff. Yeah, I'll have to check about Matt because I know I think he's still reading some of those kind of pulp
I think
books.
he is too.
Yep, he still picks up some indie books from time to time.
Okay.
And as you suspect, I think it's mostly pulp-flavored things.
All right, well, anything else before we jump into some Daredevil talk? All right, Daredevil talk it is.
Going once, going twice, Daredevil.
For the win.
All right. So, yes, this past Friday, I guess April 10th at 12:01, I believe.
Pacific Standard Time.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yes.
3:01 Eastern.
Oh, wow. I didn't really thank God I
that's
didn't
right.
stay up for that.
Netflix released all 13 episodes of Daredevil. I actually watched all 13 episodes.
As did I.
Kevin watched all 13.
Yes.
I got 3.
Shane's
I got two.
Okay.
I got a rock.
Well, that's why I want to get your Muddle the MD so you can at least feel a
Thank you for
part
that.
of the episode.
So I don't feel completely like a fifth wheel here.
So we're going to talk about this, and we'll see. Not spoil each other here, but I've been waiting to actually, as a Shane, to get on Netflix for quite a while. I actually went on a few months ago for another reason, but this is my first time doing the binge watching that I hear so many people do about on Netflix, and it's like, okay, that was great. Now I want some more, but it's like, no, there's no more. It's all there for you now. It's like Doctor Who, you get to watch it for like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
That's fine, but it's all there. I watched it in 2 days. I was done with it Saturday night by like 8 o'clock.
See, I will say I am trying to make it last a little bit longer than that by watching 1 episode a day.
Well, enough about me. I want to hear my Daredevil guy talk about it. Give me some stuff there, Kevin Moyer.
Well, obviously this is something I was anticipating for quite some time. I'm sure if you listen to the CGS archives, I've said it numerous times that I thought this is the perfect venue for this character. I thought that this was something that is well befitting and the best way to represent this character in an essence. And it basically was like watching a 13-hour movie. I mean, I have watched other shows on Netflix.
Okay. I have not. So I was also not torn, but pardon me for interrupting that. Why do they go to the next episode while the credits are still playing? I want to see the whole credits because
it depends on which one, how you view it. Because I was watching it. I watched some on my app on my smart TV down in the rec room, and that one doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But when I do it upstairs through the, I think it's through the cable box or the TiVo. I don't remember. I think it's a TiVo.
Yeah, I did mine through TiVo.
Yeah, so through TiVo it does that.
And through the Xbox it does that, but through my phone and the computer it doesn't do that.
Just because, I like watching credits because you never know who you're going to see. But one of the things that came through the credits were there were a lot of special thanks. Like they thanked Bendis, Gene Colan, Klaus Janson, Alex Malev,
Bill
David
Everett,
Mazzucchelli, Roger McKenzie, Frank Miller, Joe Orlando, J.R., Don Romita Sr., Archie Goodwin, George Tuska. But actually, they didn't thank Wally Wood or Stan Lee, did they?
Well, Stan Lee was noted in the beginning.
Oh, that's right, but no Wally Wood.
But no Wally Wood at all. None at all. So I was like, that's surprising. I mean, obviously he wasn't on it long, but
he was there.
But he was obviously a very integral creator for the series.
Absolutely.
I mean,
like the red costume.
And yes, he's the one that did the red costume. So I mean, I was surprised to see that he was not included. Because you think about it, Bill Everett, how long was he on the book? You know what I mean? It's like he didn't have much input. Wally Wood had more on it than Bill Everett did. But yeah, he was not mentioned. That was surprising.
Now, I didn't read much coming into it. Not staying away like you would, Pants, from any kind of spoiler or anything, and just whatever came across, I either read it or I didn't. Did you follow every little clip, or did you go in this as much sight unseen as you could?
I have for the past, I don't know how long now, but I've learned for myself. I do watch trailers and I watch, little snippets and stuff, beforehand, but I do limit myself then. As it gets closer to the date of the actual release, I kind of stave off, checking things out because I don't want too much exposed.
Yeah.
I want to go in and still be entertained. Before I used to, freaking get everything, and watch every snippet that came out before and I just I want to. It's not that I'm super paranoid about not, but I realize they're not going to show everything, and I realize there's things that I'll still be surprised about. But I just want to kind of, just get a feel, and then I use my own, instincts to see how I feel about it, if I'm really enthused or if I'm not, But I kind of do limit myself to how much I see before the actual, whether it's a TV show or a movie or whatever is released. So
I think I watched just the 2 trailers and that was it.
I watched the 2 trailers. I didn't watch the TV spots or anything like that.
No, if something came on, but it was so minimal.
They had those motion, teases or something like that. I've done that, but yeah, I've only watched the two trailers and that was it.
Yeah, I went into it. No pun intended. Sight unseen, basically. No,
I know what you mean.
And, holy cow! I don't even know what. Yeah, I'll say one quick thing. When it was released on Friday, again, I forgot it was at 3 a.m. So I woke up and went to work. And when I was at work on my lunch break, I forgot. Oh my God! It's Daredevil Day. So I pulled up Netflix on my phone and watched literally the first 2 minutes, which was the opening scene. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is fantastic. I got to rush home. I swear to God, I rush it home and just watch 7 straight episodes. That opening 2 minutes was bloody brilliant, which was the origin, more or less. Oh, my God, that was wonderful. And from that, I was hooked at that point.
It was. I have to say, watching it all, it was so very well done. The source material that they obviously worked off of, the majority of it was the Man Without Fear storyline that Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. did back in 1993, which is one of my favorite DD stories, so I was pleased to see that. But it's so well done. I mean, a friend of mine had watched the first episode Friday. I had to wait until Friday evening. Unlike you, I was watching every freaking minute, wait until I could, watch an episode. I certainly did not forget. But I wasn't able to watch it right away like I wanted to. But he had texted me and said that he watched the first episode, and he said, you have to wait until the end of the first episode. And he's like, it gave me goosebumps just watching, the closing scene and stuff. And obviously got me even more intrigued. And I watched the first 3 episodes and then took a break, and I enjoyed them. They were very good. But I compared it to, from what he had told me, I guess I don't know how it was, but basically I walked out of those 3 episodes going like, hey, this is pretty good. I wasn't like, wow, but then the 4th episode came and it just freaking hooked me in. And from that point on, it was like a runaway train.
He's a puto say.
Yeah, I had too much coffee.
My name is Elmer J. Fudd. I own a mansion and a yacht.
Again.
And it just got better and better. Each episode just got better and better. More and more stuff was introduced. There was tons of Easter eggs.
Oh, yes.
In this thing. I mean, I was just getting, exhilarated every time I'd see something or notice something. Sometimes things were very obvious, and there was also a lot of hidden things that, you had to pay attention to that, But I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so well done. I'm so glad that they did it through Netflix because, they were obviously not subjected to the same parameters that network TV would do.
They said shit.
Yeah, they did. So it was deserving of it. It was very brutal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I mean, when I was experiencing it, I mean, obviously, the fight scenes, there was no freaking wire work, thank God. You know, it was the way they did everything was it's so grounded and so realistic, and that's what Frank Miller Daredevil is to me. You know what I mean? And we talked about it in the Spotlight, that it's very grounded and very realistic, and they were able to capture all that without getting hokey. You know, and I was, you know, obviously watching it with Lynn, and I said to her, I said, you know, what's your opinion? And she goes, I really enjoy it, because she said it doesn't come across as a comic book show.
No,
you know,
not at
she
all.
said, you know, obviously me, you know, knowing, you know, the character and stuff. I mean, you know, it's hard for me to discern, you know, somebody who's not, you know, a big fan or something like that. So, and I've heard that through numerous people throughout the weekend, that, you know, it's not a comic book show.
Just the fight scenes alone blow me away with how they're doing them. There's that one in the hallway with like 5 people.
At the end of episode 2,
Yeah.
there's a...
But there's even better ones after that.
There's
So
like,
if you think that one's good.
Yeah, there's a 5-minute, essentially from what I read, continuous shot. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll have the stunt guy coming out, but it's a continuous fight scene down a hallway. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
Pants, I just watched that less than an hour ago. You mean when he's taking on the Russian mobsters in the hallway to save
Yes.
the little boy, right?
Yes.
First of all, what I loved about that scene was, and I've only seen the first 2, but they're already taken pains to show you that Matt Murdock has studied various fighting styles, and in the hallway, you know, he's a boxer because it's close quarters, hand-to-hand combat. So he's using a lot of boxing technique. He was doing some kicks too, but that was one of the most violent, brutal, and realistic depictions of a brawl I've seen, certainly in any kind of comic book adaptation. And it was absolutely riveting. You mind if I pontificate for a moment?
well, yeah. Otherwise, Ritsuki, you're not going to get a word in edgewise here.
Yeah. So, I mean,
kidded.
when I watched the first one this past weekend, and the moment Foggy opened his mouth, I said, "Oh, they got it."
Yeah.
And I knew from that moment forward that they're going to do this right. And it just got better from there. I think Charlie Cox is perfectly cast as Matt Murdock, because Matt Murdock, granted, he has all these internal seething demons, and they already alluded to that when he's with the priest in the confessional in the first episode. But on the surface, and those who are not within his demons, he is a calming, reassuring, strong presence, and I think the actor radiated that. The scene where he's talking to Karen in his apartment, you feel that you know that she is safe with him, and that's so important to how they depict that character, and his rapport with Foggy when they interrogating her. And they say, "Oh, you've been a lawyer for about 7 hours now," and you know that banter they have, which is so integral to their relationship, to their dynamic. And Kevin's right about the Easter eggs. I mean, you assume the guy from Shawshank Redemption, Leland, that's the owl, and you know the guard who was blackmailed into trying to kill Karen. That was Farnham. So that's Frank Farnham.
Turk is in
You know,
Yeah, Turk.
yeah,
I mean,
and you know, in the second episode, I mean, I'm a huge Rosario Dawson fan.
Oh yes.
Oh, yes.
And
that was
loving
an
the fact
entire-
that they've kind of combined like Night Nurse and Claire Temple into her character.
Yeah.
Apparently, Claire Temple, of course, is Luke Cage's one of his first major girlfriend. But she says, "Well, I don't know your name, so I'm going to call you Mike. You know, Mike Murdock." And it's I cannot wait. I mean, with my schedules, I can't watch them all in one shot. But I cannot. I'm really looking forward to watching the rest. I will say though, and you guys mentioned this before, I'm really happy. I don't mean this in an inappropriate way, but I'm just happy that it is that violent, because they have to show the contrast between Daredevil's world and like the more iconic, you know, shiny heroes in the Marvel Universe. They even allude briefly to the Avengers and the battle that devastated the city.
Right.
So you know it's in the same universe. But this is they're selling children for sex slavery and women. I mean, this is the seedy underbelly of that world, and that's the way it's supposed to be, because Daredevil is not a character who's, you know, flying high up on the rooftops, shiny with like Thor. I mean, he's down in the muck.
This is like what I call is like a Marvel Knights
Exactly.
Excellent.
version
Yes.
of, you know what I mean, of Marvel media.
Yeah.
And I'm so thrilled that they went in that direction with it, and they set that tone right away. And God, I'm so looking forward to finishing it. Marvel Studios, as of yet, simply can do no wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, and you know, oh my God, the Ben Affleck movie was bad. Holy mackerel! I mean, this just puts it in stark contrast of how just poorly executed that movie was.
Yeah, it was.
Because
it was, you know,
this is Daredevil.
Yeah, I mean that was.
So,
I mean, it was. You know, I was first excited when the Daredevil movie was, you know, coming out because I knew Mark Steven Johnson was very familiar with material and he was a big fanboy. But then when I saw the movie, I was like, this was too much of a fanboy thing. You know what I mean? It was like he put too much into it. He was trying too hard. You know, I would have much rather he put a lot of effort into. And this is what I felt because
I would have much rather it had a good script.
Exactly.
But, you know, this is
and they tried to, and they'd suffered from one of them trying to do too much in one movie, in one 2-hour movie, and this to me feels like, I mean, at the end before they chose Mark Steven Johnson as the director and writer for the movie, he was in contention with Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother. Tony Scott was going to do Daredevil. He was, you know. And this, to me, is what I feel like something Tony Scott would have produced. You know what I mean? It was, I mean, obviously a little more gritty than what he was. But I mean, you know, I like a lot of Tony Scott's movies, and I thought it would have been perfect for this character. And that obviously you can see now after watching this is so befitting, and it just works.
And I also like that he's not untouchable. I mean, he's getting pounded and hurt and bruised, battered.
It's he doesn't have superpowers, so I mean, it's kind of like, you know, it's real in essence. Now, the only thing I just have go ahead.
Also, speaking of real, one of the things that stood out to me in the fight scenes when punches are being thrown, there's not really any added sound effects. It sounds to me like a real fist fight is going
That's a good
on.
point, Pan.
Not
That's
what
a
you would
good
see in the
point,
movies.
Right.
It's just real stuff. It's not exaggerated.
And they look more exhausted as the fight goes on.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you'd see that, you know, especially in that fight where he's doing that 5-minute fight in that hallway. Like he's getting exhausted. You know, he's exuberating, but obviously he keeps going. And I
loved when he stopped by the door, thought for a second, and lifted the mask up,
So the boy
so
wouldn't
the
be
kid
scared.
wouldn't be freaked out.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's wow.
I know it is. I mean, there's some
I feel
things that
bad.
I won't say I didn't like, but there's some things for me that I thought could have been better. But primarily, the majority of it is a lot of it worked.
Yeah.
A lot of it worked. I mean, the writing, the cinematography, you know, the lighting, the actors, the script.
That first fight scene in the rain in episode 1.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness!
I know.
Just amazing. The slowing down of the camera and everything. Again, just wonderfully done like that. There's so many.
One of my
things.
favorite visuals is that one of those scenes where, because it's like a close up from him after he came off the fire escape and he's in that puddle, and he's picking his face up
And
out of the puddle,
blood's
and
trickling
dripping
out,
down.
yeah.
I mean I love that. I mean, that's just a beautiful image, you know, that, and it's so befitting of this series. It really, you know,
And I love how they use some of that to flash back as well.
yeah.
We should point out, though, to listeners, if you have kids,
Oh yeah, no, not a kid.
I mean,
no.
my boys watch all the comics with me, and my 10-year-old Jun, at some points, he either left the room or I covered his eyes because this is not like the other Marvel movies.
Yeah, I didn't let Ben and Matt watch it yet.
Yeah, I mean, when Karen Page wakes up in her apartment, this is extremely graphic, and it's harsh. I mean, this is not, like I said, it's not shiny superheroes. This. I mean, and the criminals he's dealing with. I mean, this is scum of the earth.
It's
I
brutal
mean,
reality. It's in your face.
It's as low as you go.
Right.
So, if you have young kids, I would watch it first alone before you decide whether or not. And I know with my kid, I mean, my 13-year-old Ricky can handle it, but my younger boy Jun, I like the next episode. Bill and Daniel told me the next episode, the third episode, is extremely brutal.
It's dark, man. There's some episodes things get really dark. So.
And I'm going to watch it alone first before I
that's a
decide
good
whether I
idea.
want to
That's
see
a good
it.
suggestion. Way to put that out there, because it is true. I mean, it's not R-rated,
No,
but it's definitely PG-13 at least.
But a lot of parents might think, oh, it's a comic book thing. Wait a minute. It's not. This is not the Avengers.
yeah, just the first fight scene in the first episode. I'm like, I'm going to hold off on letting Ben watch it for any time soon. He'll maybe later.
The only one of the things that stood out to me, I mean, like, when you get into some of the later fight scenes, and I'm not doing anything. I'm going to make sure that I don't do anything spoiler wise, but I'm just going to talk in general about
Sure.
that. In some of the fight scenes, after he's beaten somebody, or even vice versa, like there's times where he just keeps pummeling them, and to me, that kind of, I don't know, to me as a Daredevil fan, that just kind of, I was like, that don't quite seem right. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a little excessive, and I never got that from Daredevil. Like, I expect that from, like, Moon Knight, you know what I mean? Somebody who's going to be more apt to be more, brutal, I mean, obviously, he's out there to win, and, in the fights in the comics, for him to be a non-powered hero, you know what I mean? He's got to fight to win. It takes what he but I just, some of the stuff I thought a little bit, was a little too much. Yeah, a little too much out of character, I think.
Well, in the episode I just saw, I mean, when he tortures that guy on the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy fully deserved it. He was an utter piece of dung, but...
I can't remember. I can't remember each episode until I watch it again. But there were some fight scenes that...
I'm sorry, Kevin. Go
that
ahead.
he had somebody down, and he beat him, and he's, like, over top of him, and he keeps freaking pounding.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, geez, I'm like, that's almost...
Yeah, there's a couple like
almost
that.
kind of took me out of, like, I just didn't, I understand. I mean, it wasn't something I was like, oh, that's not the character at all. It's just that it just seemed a little excessive. But
another thing that this really caught my eye for this series was, oh my God, Vincent D'Onofrio is Wilson Fisk from the comics. I've read enough comics that Kingpin's in. Oh my God, was that an amazing performance? And you didn't even see him until maybe with the third or fourth episode.
At the end of the third episode.
And the third episode. And oh my God, his portrayal is so amazing.
I mean, there's so many characters, and all the actors did profoundly well in presenting these characters and doing, their presentation of these characters from the material. But I have to say, by the time I'm done watching all 13 episodes, I think that Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is my favorite out of the show. I mean, I liked.
And he's never referred to as Kingpin in the show.
No. It's always Wilson Fisk.
Yes. If they get to say his name at all.
But also, because it was very, I mean, everything in this thing was very organic, too. I mean, everything from the beginning to the end, was very organic. All the plot lines, all the things that were everything felt organic to me. But I really enjoyed, actually, one of my favorite things out of this show was the whole Kingpin and Vanessa storyline.
Oh.
I mean, to me, I don't remember reading that much, I should say, exposure to their relationship and, how they went through it, where he literally show her, her and him and their relationship, how it starts and how it continues. And I don't remember reading anything like that in the comics. So there's things like that it's not just, it's not just a reinterpretation of the comics. They do, just like, Karen Page's involvement. It's not just she comes in and, oh, I want to be your secretary. I mean, there's a reason why she's there and a reason why everything works out, and that's what I really like about it. It even adds more to it as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, and that actress, Deborah Ann Wolfe, who I'd never heard of, I guess she was in True Blood.
She was in True Blood, yeah.
Never saw her before. Again, a tremendous job.
Yeah, I liked her from True Blood. She was one of my favorite
oh my
characters.
God, I don't want to spoil it, but that one scene in episode 11, with
Oh my
goodness. Did not see that coming.
Yeah, there's a lot. I've been talking to Matt.
I hope that was big enough for you guys.
I was talking to Matt. Matt's been watching them, and he texts me as he's going through them, and he started talking to me about some of the. I think he's on like episode 8 or something right now, and he's started talking to me about something and some things about how, especially one of the characters and where they might go. Like he's speculating like where they.
Well, because that's what Matt does.
And I just, I didn't say anything to him obviously because I don't want to spoil it for him. But I just told him just keep watching, and so there's things that happen that you just don't. I mean, that you just don't expect either. I mean, so it's a nice ride. It's a great ride. It's very enjoyable. I think one of the things that and I don't want to say I didn't like about it because I liked everything about it. It's just that something that I thought could have been better was the fact that there was very little lawyering, and courtroom stuff. Mm-hmm. What was there was good, like, I don't want to say, but I was expecting more of that. You know what I mean? I thought there'd be more, and I wanted more of that, because I often said, like, if it was going to be a TV show, I looked at, like, the legal shows and the CSIs and the things like that. All those things rolled into one. This has that potential. And there were some good legal moments, but very little, I kind of missed that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to see more of that. I want, and And obviously, I'm sure I'm from the reaction, I'm sure there's going to be another season. So I mean,
well, that was something I wanted to talk about because we know that AKA Jessica Jones, I guess, is filming right now.
Yeah, there's filming
because there's been images online of David Tennant in a purple outfit,
yeah,
as I guess the Purple
released.
Man. So, and then I guess you've got Luke Cage,
Iron Fist,
and Defenders. But if they're just filming Jessica Jones now,
I mean, basically,
how long is these 5 going to go? Is it going to be one every year?
Well, they filmed Daredevil from October to the end of December, so it took 3 months.
I thought they filmed a little more than that. I thought they did some filming last summer, like in the.
I thought they had started like around in late September, early
I thought
October.
it was more late.
Filming
late
began
year.
in New York City in July with production ending in December.
Oh, so it was a 5-month production.
If it's on Wikipedia, it must be true.
Okay, yeah, exactly. But I mean, you figure if that takes that much time, and then obviously you figure it came out in April, so there was 3 months of post production.
Yeah, oh my God.
So you're talking maybe 1, maybe 2 a year, and I can't see them with the reaction that this is getting, that they're going to wait until all these other 4 shows are going for them. Because almost at this point, to be honest with you, I think obviously the intention is to have all these 4 individual shows and then all of them gang together as a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost at this point, I don't want Daredevil and Defenders. This is so good.
Yeah.
Just let Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and whoever else they want to throw in there, let them be the Defenders. Let Daredevil stand on its own. I almost don't even want him in the Defenders.
But bottom line is, I'm going to trust Jeff Loeb and those people because I sit back and just enjoy it. I don't have the sense to see what should be done or could be done. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it.
But I think at this point they'd be missing the boat if you're going to wait another 3-4 years. Well, yeah, season 2. You know what I mean?
But yeah. I doubt they're going to do that.
I can't see them doing
what
that.
Little I know of Netflix, like the House of Cards, this is their 3rd. They've done 3 series of that. And was that once a year? Does anybody know?
Pretty much.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been about once a year.
Yep.
I can see this being 2, maybe pushing it to 3. Come out this year, the other 2 next year, and then the second Daredevil by the end of the year.
Well, yeah, but if you're filming Jessica Jones right now, I can't see it coming out till November, December, late this year.
Yeah, so you might get 2 a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're talking 5 shows.
We demand be entertained, TV people.
Well, I think obviously this is a new foray. You know, I mean, this is Marvel taking a different step and capitalizing on an untapped market, so to speak. And I'm not saying this is the first, superhero TV show. I mean, obviously you have Arrow, Flash, and all these other shows. But I mean, this is in Netflix. I mean, this is something different. It feels different. And I think with all the positive reaction that they've received and accolades that they've received from different sources, is that they're going to hop on. They're going to amp up production, and okay, we now need to film more than 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to.
I could see them being. With filming with some trepidation in the first year, getting maybe those 2 out next year. I see it going way more than that.
If it's doing well, believe me, they'll ramp it up.
Yeah. I mean, because it's not like they're using all the same, staff to do each show. So it's not like they have to wait for one to be over to start the next one. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you'll see now that I'm sure they'll start to, I'm sure maybe they'll start pre-production on Luke Cage, because they already announced that they had the showrunner. So he's starting to work on that, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised that by the time Jessica Jones is done filming, that they might be ready to start filming Luke Cage, So, we'll see how it goes. But this obviously will make another season at least, and I'm hopefully multiple seasons. But
and this, as Shane can attest, is essentially what got me to go on Netflix streaming.
Yeah, me too.
I was running DVDs, for Doctor Who and other things, but I never streamed it before. And by the way, it streamed for me effortlessly. I was concerned about lag time, whatever. It was perfect.
Yeah,
I had the high def stuff. It was gorgeous. I had no issues with that at all.
I think only one episode I had an issue with, through the latter part of the show, in the 3/4 of the way through an episode, it locked, and then we just restarted it and it was fine. But I mean, I'm like you. I've watched all 3 seasons of House of Cards. I really enjoy that show, and I've watched some movies on Netflix, but I have not been a big Netflix person. I've only been introduced to it in the past, I don't know, maybe year and a half.
This is the first time I've ever signed into Netflix at all.
So it's take my money.
But I like it because there's so much I've found. The more I look, the more I find on
Going
Netflix.
down the rabbit hole.
It is. It's good. It's great.
Well, and that goes for not only these new shows and movies, but old shows that I found just in searches, curiosity to see what's out there.
I mean, I've been making a queue, and it's like, there's documentaries I'm finding, there's anime, all this stuff that
there's a ton.
It's out there. I mean, it's great. I mean, and that's why I was even more enthused when I knew this was coming, because it's like, I didn't want this to be on network TV,
Yeah.
So I mean, but
I didn't want it to go to HBO either or something like that.
No,
because I don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. That's why I look at like Preacher, and with that, I'm very enthused about that. And Walking Dead obviously has been very good, and so it's good that it's kind of like what I've said with TV is like you're seeing a lot of these cable networks producing their own stuff.
Oh yeah,
and it's just as good, if not better, than the main networks, and I think that's great. It's just like indie films did the same thing with indie films.
Absolutely.
It's like there's a market out there, and they're using it, and it's great.
Yeah.
So
I was just trying to get another caller on the line here. Who?
Hello.
There he is. I have the caller on the line. Hello there, Mr. Deemer.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, brother.
Hello.
hello.
We were just talking about a little thing called Daredevil.
Ah, yes. Is Kevin there?
He is.
Sir.
Oh, my God.
No kidding.
Ah!
How far are you?
Well, it would only take the greatest television show since The Wire for Kevin to show up. So, all right. The stakes are high.
Absolutely. How many episodes have you seen? Did you watch it all yet?
No, we're on, Tasha, are we on episode 6 or 7 of Daredevil?
I don't remember.
6 or 7.
Seven's
like
awesome. That. 7's awesome.
I don't remember if it was 7, so don't.
Well,
don't
you
say
would know
anything.
if it was 7, because
Stick.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, we haven't seen that yet.
That's a great episode.
That's the seventh episode.
We'll watch that tonight
Yeah.
as soon as we get home here.
So yeah, man.
They did, from what I've seen so far, they've very simply done everything absolutely correct. I mean, there's nothing wrong. It's basically perfect television. Not only from a Daredevil and comic book point of view, but it's just a great show.
Yeah.
It's extremely well done. There are no moments of the show that are boring or sort of catch you off guard where it's like, that was kind of lame. There's none of that. It's just extremely well done television. And the comic book, they've gotten everything right from the comics. And I'm super impressed with the way they're handling Kingpin and Vanessa.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite parts of the show is those two characters and their relationship. It's great.
Yeah, I mean they could have cheesed out, right? And we could have been introduced to the Kingpin and he was already married to Vanessa and whatever, just like every gangster's wife in every mobster show where they're just happy to spend the money and they don't ask questions, but they know it's not good, but they're like, whatever, I got a Gucci bag, right?
Yeah.
And they're not doing that at all with this. They introduced us, and we're watching her say, yeah, I'm okay with this, but there's something about this guy that I like, and that's, I never, ever would have expected to see that.
No, that's something new that, we've never been in the comics, you know what I mean? So it's new, and I love it. It's great. I mean, every character is relevant and so good, so it's not...
We have to remember, I haven't gotten to actually seeing Wilson Fisk in person yet, but Vincent D'Onofrio, he's an outstanding actor. I just go back to his performance in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not some slouch actor here. So that doesn't surprise me one bit.
No, I was very much, surprised and excited when I heard that he was cast, and I expected good things from him, and he's just great.
And didn't he have, I think the first time I ever saw him, if I remember right, didn't he have a bit part in Adventures in Babysitting as Thor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's right. That's right, Shane.
Wow.
I mean, that's going back.
Yeah, that's going back a ways, but yeah.
Elizabeth Shue, right?
Yeah. Oh, God bless.
But just to touch on some of the Easter eggs we saw, and I'll try not to go too depth because
don't spoil it, man.
Well, you see Josie's bar.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Which is good.
They mentioned Roxanne. Mm-hmm. They mentioned that Greek girl. Little things like that. Now,
don't go too far.
I won't. But here's the question: James Wesley.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, that was an amazing performance, again, as Kingpin's right-hand man. I don't know, is that someone from the comic books?
Yes, Wesley is a character from Born Again.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I haven't gotten to. I've only read the first issue of Born Again so far.
And he was in the movie too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Wesley was his right hand man in the movie.
I didn't even remember that because again, sort of like block out that movie.
I don't blame you, but
but again, that's another amazing performance. So many great performances in
and
this.
he refers to the other Marvel universe as well because
he does. The joke
because he does with the Russians. He said, I don't understand how you can't take this one guy down. Maybe if he had a magic hammer or a suit of armor, maybe you know what I mean. So. It's nice that it's very congruent, but yet it's its own little, like I said, Marvel Knights, man. It's Marvel Knights, media. So
And they got, they worked in Turk, and I love how in like the first episode you're introduced to Leland,
which I didn't catch that till later on.
Oh yeah, no, I knew right away.
Well, of course you knew right away.
Yeah, but it's neat to hear other point of views. You know what I mean? Because like I said, for me, it's kind of. Stuff I'm familiar with, and I knew the characters, and I understand when they're introduced. Obviously other people who aren't, don't know that right off the bat. So it's kind of like a nice little learning thing, you know what I mean? So it's kind of neat to hear other people's take on it and see if it seems organic or not, you know what I mean? So, and I felt everything was. To me, it's like nobody was shoehorned in, nobody was forced in your, you know what I mean? It was... I think, like I said, every character is important and relevant. So
it was good. It was good to see battling Jack Murdoch.
Yeah.
Even though of course, we knew it was going to happen, but and the kid who played Matt Murdock as a young Matt was outstanding.
Yeah, he was outstanding.
Yeah, he was pretty good, I have to admit.
And they brought.
I also liked Pants Battling Jack because again, I just watched that second episode. The guy did a great job, that actor, because just the shame he felt when he realized that his son was going to see him take a fall. He just couldn't bear the thought of doing that in front of his son. And then, again, I'm way behind you guys, but you assume he's calling Matt's mother.
Yeah, that's what I was
on the
thinking
phone.
too.
And and also going back to the first episode, when he actually loses his sight and the traffic accident, I mean, that was jarring, just the way that they did that, the screaming and the chaos of it. I mean, it was, the people involved in the show, Drew Goddard, Shane, wasn't he involved in Buffy and Angel?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
He did Buffy
well,
and
again,
Angel.
See, they're smart. You want to do these shows well, you just bring in all of Joss Whedon's people, and you're gonna get good television.
Yeah,
because they have a proven track record because they're all comic book people, and it shows.
Yeah, I think Drew Goddard, he wrote the first two scripts and possibly the majority of the third, and he also kind of did the structure, kind of like the Bible to the show. And then Stephen DeKnight is the one that took it over then, and he took it from there. But they did a phenomenal job with it. Very respectful for the material, and really just
Well, and that first scene with the car accidents and him losing his sight and all the chaos and noise reminded me a lot of, and not to sound weird, but that first episode of Lost, that first few minutes when you see everything going on from the plane crash, and you're like, oh my, what the hell is going on? It was that kind of chaotic to me.
And I think he appeared in the second or third episode. We get to see Ben Urich.
Yeah, that's the third episode.
Okay. So
that was good. That was very cool how they did that.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean,
I haven't seen the third episode yet, but they do Ben Urich right because they did him really wrong in the movie. So
no, they did him.
No,
right.
I thought he was done
right,
well.
good.
Yeah, they do him very respectfully well. I mean, obviously, well, I'm not.
Yeah,
the only thing is he's black. He's not. He's black Ben Urich rather than the white that we're used to seeing in the book and stuff. So, which I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like
No.
Well, I was going to say that I think that that's one of the very rare cases for me personally. Everybody has a different opinion in movies where they can change the skin color of a character that you're so used to in the comics, and it just feels wrong that it's different in the screen.
Yeah.
But in Ben's case, it felt seamless.
Right.
Like I didn't even pay attention to it at all. And in fact, I had to remind myself, like, oh yeah, Ben's a white guy in the comics. Yeah. Huh. It didn't even, not like, the Kingpin in the Daredevil movie where it's just like, every time I see him on screen, I'm like, I love the actor, but I can't stand that he's, like, doesn't match, right? My brain is like going, it doesn't match.
Yeah.
And in this case, I didn't even mind it one bit.
No, I didn't either.
And I like that actor that plays
Yeah, he's
Ben.
cool.
He's great.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
now I haven't seen episode 4. I think it's episode 4. There's a scene in a taxi cab, which is another wonderful visual scene. I'll just say that without spoiling everything. But when you get to that scene, you're going to go, okay, this is how'd you do that scene? You know, similar to the other fight scene there.
That's why
Hopefully
I
I'll watch
mean,
that tonight.
everything about this, like I said, from the writing to the cinematography, everything. I mean, lighting, everything. I mean, it's just they just did a phenomenal job. They really did. Very impressive.
Brian, are you in a bar or something like that?
I'm actually in a game shop in Philadelphia. It's Red Cap's Corner. It's a really, really awesome game store. Okay. And we're stopping in with the family on the way back from an appointment, and because Tasha and the kids haven't seen it yet. So
this is just some background noise. That's all. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's very authentic here.
Sounds like you're at Josie's bar.
I'm sure half the people in this room, because there's open gaming in the back going on, and I'm sure they're all comic fans, and I'm sure they've all read or watched Daredevil. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
no, it's obviously a great time to be a Daredevil fan, and it's finally, you know, the road back from 2003 has been reached. So,
and I want to emphasize to listeners that we're going to be finishing up spotlights on Daredevil in the not too distant future, and we're also going to, at that time, I'm sure by then we'll all watch the show. We can then really give a thorough critique on all 13 episodes.
Yeah, I'm looking very much forward to being able to discuss this in full, you know, and be able to talk a little bit more without spoiling it for anybody. So
now, I want to sort of, if I can, if this question makes sense, tie this question sort of into the back issue market. I always notice that there's always something they're trying to, for back issues, to make it more valuable. Like, this is a so-and-so's first appearance, and it's, like, rare. And a lot of times there'll be jumps in prices because of, like, you know, TV and movies. Like, Thanos' first appearance shot up in price because of his appearing in, you know, the Avengers.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, well, which is more important, like, something happening in the comics organically that makes the back issue more valuable, or, like, the media? Like, so you were at a convention this past weekend, Chris, and you've been a dealer for a while. Can you get a sense, are we going to see, like, a spike in, like, Daredevil back issues, like these storylines, or the first appearance of, you know, Kingpin or whatever?
I think, the first appearance of Kingpin demands high money anyway because it's a key Silver Age Spider-Man comic, you know, especially if it's a higher grade. I mean, part of this is experience, part of this is my personal bias when it comes to this. I can't stand that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Because it's an inflated artificial market that never lasts. And, you know, if you're a savvy speculator, you mentioned Thanos, Guardians of the Galaxy, you see this over and over again. Deadpool, people jump in at the right time and they get a book and they sell it to someone who either just really wants the book and will pay any price, or they sell it to a sucker. Mm-hmm. Because we may see a spike in certain key Daredevil issues, but eventually that's going to level off because it's not real. I mean, it's based on a temporary sort of spike in the multimedia.
I mean, I noticed on Joe Quesada had come on, I don't know, Twitter or whatever, you know, and he was doing stuff 30 days till Daredevil premiered. You know, he was putting artwork out and, you know, showing, you know, like preliminary artwork to, like, you know, stuff he's done, and talking about the character and stuff he's done for promotional for the, you know, thing and stuff like that. And obviously people were asking questions and talking to him as well. And I saw a couple posts where people were saying, like, they've seen, like, you know, people were starting to buy a lot of, like, Daredevil trades and stuff like that. That will, you know, they seem to be harder to keep on the shelves, so to speak. Which you know, for me, something like that is a more positive aspect because it's showing people that they're interested in this character and they want to read this character now. You know, not specifically just picking up, you know, issues like that where you're saying, like, it's just a first appearance of somebody or something like that. To me, it is a good thing that if that seems to be happening frequently, that, you know, people are picking up more and more Daredevil trades now because they want to read more about the character or read about the character they've never read about before. So there's a positive side to that, in my opinion. But
I agree with you, my friend. I mean, because I was referring more to back issues. I mean, when it comes to trades, we've ordered extra Daredevil trades, and I'm going to actually get more since I've watched the show because it's so good. Because this is the kind of that perfectly can encourage people to delve into the book. I just want to kind of get friendly advice to people who are out in the back.
Make sure you're buckled up there, Brian.
If money is an issue, you can wait because some of the books they may spike and they may not. But if they do that, I'll call it the multimedia spike. Eventually, that's going to level off, and it'll go back to the more realistic, sort of overstreet market price because, it not in all, but in most cases, that spike eventually will go down. And if you just want to wait, if you're into the back issues, I mean, the overall majority of Daredevil books from the 1980s forward, they're in bargain bins.
Oh yeah.
With the exception of the Miller stuff and a few other things, and they're wonderful. I mean, we'll talk in the future when we spotlight the Bendis Brubaker stuff. I think is tremendous, but it's not expensive. And as Kevin mentioned, all of it's been traded. Most of the key Daredevil stories, with the exception of some like fun stuff in the Bronze Age and some of the Silver, it's all in trade paperback.
Go ahead,
Brian, sorry.
John Romita Jr. and Lee Weeks run, is that in trade anywhere?
There is some. I mean, they're not. I think they're out of print. I know the Lee Weeks because they did that storyline up to issue 300. Where he gets no spoilers, but I mean, this is obviously the opposite side of Born Again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it leads up to issue 300, that was
D.G. Chichester writing that, right?
Correct. And Lee Weeks did the artwork to that. There is some John Romita run. Collected in trade, but they are putting out. I read on Amazon that they're doing a Typhoid Mary
nice
trade that's coming out, I think, in August or something like that. So things like that are starting to surface. I think there's only they did that one trade. It was not that long ago. I think there's 2 trades that have some of the John Romita run and Nascenti stuff. There was one that was Typhoid, and the other one was. I'm trying to think. The other one has where he's holding the noose, on the cover.
Yeah. And that stuff is easily found in bargain bins too. Yeah. If you just want to buy the comics.
So those two trades of the John Romita Jr. stuff is available, as well as obviously the Man Without Fear series.
And along that note, Clara is currently reading Essential Daredevil Volume 2.
Sweet.
Clara, what do you think of Daredevil?
I really like it.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's been plowing through it and eager to read more.
Excellent.
Now, again, just talking about comics, do you think, with the current Daredevil being set in the comics being set in San Francisco, that will have people turn off to reading Daredevil Nats now and look more towards the back issues? Because then we'll have this discussion. Will this bring?
Just wait, pants, though, because what's about to happen in a month?
Oh, right? That's right.
And I was reading. Just today, I read. I want to say. Oh no, it was an issue of Nova. It was about 10 issues ago because I'm a little behind on Nova, but there was like a scene where Daredevil was back in New York and he was fighting alongside Captain America and Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was like, "So, how's San Francisco treating you?" And they're having a little chit chat while they're fighting, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh yeah, just think about this. Like, once Secret Wars come and the whole Marvel universe gets turned on its head, and now that Daredevil is so hot, do you really think that he's going to stay out in San? I mean, maybe he will. I don't know, but it would be a great opportunity for them to throw him for a loop and have him land back in New York.
I think that's a good point on Brian's part. Plus, I think the Wade run has been such a tremendous part of Daredevil's history already that the essence of the character is there. So whether he's in San Francisco or New York City, you're getting top-flight Daredevil stories.
Plus, I believe Wade is leaving the book soon as well.
Yeah, he's the last. I think the last issue is August, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
I just always think about that, like, with these big movies, does it get readers into the stores? And if they are they confused?
I don't know. I talked to Scott about it at one time, in regards to the movies and people coming
Golden Eagle Scott?
Yeah, Golden Eagle Scott. And he said that he rarely sees, like an influx of people, especially coming in just specifically for something related to a movie.
You never see that.
Yeah.
I
And I
think
mean, but I mean, you're kind of led to believe that happens, you know. But
well, maybe it does, but I mean, maybe I'm sure it does. Maybe in big cities, but
yeah, maybe in that stuff. But like he said, we did talk about that, and he said no, he's never seen anything that's
I think
noticeable.
that's what Jamie used to say too. Is
Yeah.
that he never noticed.
I mean, I've seen in my little part of the retailing world, you see dribs and drabs. And
Sure, you're gonna see
You
something,
love that,
yeah.
and you want to encourage it, but this notion that there's some tidal
flood,
wave of
yeah.
people who suddenly want to pick up comic books because they've that does not happen in any kind of significant numbers in my experience, and clearly also in granted we're smaller stores, but in Golden Eagle's experience as well. I mean, I've mentioned I have students who watch a lot of the comic shows, but they don't actually then take the next step and read the actual comics. I mean, it's almost like this multimedia world has become such a huge part of the movie and television world that's kind of its own entity. Even though it's clearly mining all this magnificent source material, most viewers probably don't even realize that to any great extent. A lot of the Easter eggs we pointed out, the average person, because they haven't read the books, they're just not even gonna realize that.
Yeah. If I can go back to the show for a minute, I think one of the things that I'm most excited about is, well, obviously I still have 7 or more episodes or whatever to watch, which is awesome for me personally.
Yes.
But we have now 3 other Marvel shows coming from Netflix, and I think we were all not sure what we were going to get, and now that the first one is so amazing, obviously now we're hoping that the other 3 are at least pretty darn good, right? Absolutely. Maybe they won't be as incredible as Daredevil, but they should be solid shows. And then
I'm sorry.
The biggest thing is that I have maybe been unfair, but maybe not, about all the other comic book shows that are on TV. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Flash and Gotham and Green Arrow, they all basically suck.
Oh,
they're mildly entertaining, but they're so cheesy and so teeny bopper and so plain old boring network television that I'm sick of it. And this show lets us all know that it is possible to make a very serious, very well done, very well acted, very well scripted, very well shot and lit and choreographed television show that is based on comic book material. It does not have to be teeny bopper fare for the WB, right? Stop. All right? Treat the material the way that it can be treated. And finally someone has done that. And I love that Disney, that owns ABC, said, well, we want to make this stuff good, so obviously we can't put it on ABC, so we'll have to make a deal with Netflix.
All right, well, you're wrong on Flash because that's still great. Others, I can see where you're going with the other stuff, but Flash is still good.
No, but Shane, it's not horrible, but it's still like cheesy, right? It's not like a serious show.
No,
I mean, there's some
would you
seriousness.
make a Barry Allen show the same way you would make a Daredevil show, though?
Barry Allen's completely different. He's lighthearted and more optimistic.
I don't say it's gritty or nothing, but there are things of Flash that I do not like. I mean, and it's got that essence. It's not an older, Barry Allen. He's, you know what I mean? And plus it's, I mean, there's things about it. I don't want to get into it either, but I kind of see what Brian's saying. It's like I watch The Flash and I enjoy it, but there's things that I don't like about it.
What the thing about The Flash is, and the other shows as well, is that you never for once forget that you're watching a television show, right? And Daredevil so far has been so good that you actually have suspension of disbelief and you're actually transported to another world and you're lost in it for 55 minutes, right? Whereas when you're watching The Flash, you're painfully aware the whole time that, yes, this is just a television show, and, okay, it's kind of cool, and there's some interesting parts in it, but it's a television show.
No,
right?
I do that with Arrow. I can see that. Not with Flash. Flash, I get engrossed.
I mean, this is so, like you said, but it's also so grounded and so real and so gritty. I mean, it's exactly what the comic,
One of the thing I would say, to jump back to Brian's earlier point about the other forthcoming Marvel Netflix series, is that the source material they're going to pull from, especially Jessica Jones, is so strong. I mean, I think Jessica Jones is one of the best things Bendis has done his entire career.
Yeah, Alias was a great series.
So I have complete confidence in that. And Power Man and Iron Fist, there's so much good stuff to work with there, both in terms of the action, the drama, and like sort of the buddy humor, and also the mystical side of Daniel Rand. That I have complete confidence in. What
Now, are they separate shows?
Yes, separate
they're going to
shows.
be separate.
Luke Cage is
initially, yes.
separate, and Iron Fist is separate.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
then there's going to be a multi-part movie kind of thing.
Defenders.
That's the Defenders.
Yeah.
Where they all get together, I guess, and are a team. Right?
Because I had thought when they first announced all this stuff that I thought Power Man and Iron Fist were going to be together, which is cool because I used to love the book. But then, I kind of was hearing that I thought they were separate shows, which I think is even more cool because, I want to see Iron Fist like so bad. I want to do them just focus on, the whole thing and just do a whole Iron... I'm
Well, with Iron
stoked
Fist,
about
Kevin,
that.
they just have to look at the Matt Fraction, Ed Brubaker
Absolutely.
stuff.
Oh,
and
my
you're
God,
good.
yeah.
When think if they can do these fight scenes so well, can you imagine Iron
Oh,
Fist?
my God, yeah. And I don't want it to be all the same, you know what I mean?
No, but just
But just goes to show how serious they take it and
Yeah.
no wire work and all that.
yeah.
It's there. It's really good. It just sets the bar, for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and they used a lot of locales right in New York City.
Yeah.
That whole thing, Daredevil was all filmed in New York.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so is Jessica Jones, and I think that's phenomenal.
And-
Because it's like I hate seeing that stuff. That's why I always like that scene from Austin Powers when they're driving through There's no way looks like England.
California.
Because it does.
Yeah.
You can. No matter how well they try to disguise it,
Yeah, hey, look, it's Vancouver.
yeah.
Vancouver can't be
or L.A. That's yeah. It's
Now, Brian, I know you've done this for a long time. I have Amazon Prime, and now I have Netflix. Boy, am I loving just watching whatever I can, whenever I want.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
That's all we do.
Oh, Shane, once you go to Netflix, you don't go back.
Oh,
Netflix
yeah,
is
there's no
great.
way.
It is. It's really good. It's a really great thing that they've established. With
Yeah.
that. And now doing their own stuff is it's phenomenal. House of Cards. is
Gentlemen, I
phenomenal.
apologize. I have to actually depart. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
But Pants, I'll email you later tonight. And we'll figure out the next thing we'll be doing.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, have a fine evening.
You too,
You
Chris.
too,
you
Chris.
too,
Thank
sir.
you.
Good night, Chris.
All
See
right.
you.
All right.
Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So now, Adam, has our talk about this at all got you interested in it at all to seek it out Netflix? Or?
I've been interested all along.
Oh, yeah,
but,
okay.
I don't have a Netflix account, and I'm not in a hurry to get one. so-
Okay.
Well, so here's the deal, Adam.
Yeah.
is that-
I'm buying it on DVD. I can guarantee you that.
but here we go. You can absolutely get a 30-day free trial to Netflix. I guarantee you'll watch these episodes in a shorter period of time than 30 days, and then you just cancel and you don't have to pay a cent, right? And you might as well because the show is worth watching.
Well, how many times
Obviously-
can I get away with that, though?
Well, I think you can only do it once, right? But Netflix is only $8 a month, so like $8, even if you just buy whenever Jessica Jones comes out, if you pay $8 for 1 month, that's cheaper than renting the DVDs or buying the DVDs or whatever, right? That will happen whenever the DVDs may come out, right?
And that's a nice thing that you have all access to all 13 episodes right away.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then you could go back and rewatch Daredevil in that same 30 days if you wanted to, or whatever, right? So
And there's
Maybe
a
I ought to
ton-
wait until it and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist are all available.
a year from now.
Wow,
Pack a
that's
lot into that 30
That's
day
a couple years
trial
away.
period.
yeah. I'll talk to you in 2 years.
I can't do that. Heck, man, I got excited
do we know
when
the
Futurama
release
was on.
date for the next show?
No, we were just
We were
talking,
talking about
like
that.
they're filming that now, but I don't. Like you said, we were basically there. Pants said he pulled up that it started filming Daredevil in back in July or something like. I thought they were only filming for about 4 months, and then it took 3 months for post production, approximately. So you're talking about 7 months for filming and post production. So I mean, if they're doing that now, like I said, I anticipate Jessica Jones being out like in the fall.
Right.
Or
Well, yeah.
something.
According to the Wikipedia, they started filming Jessica Jones in February, and it should be out this year. They say, but they don't really give it. I would think later in the year.
Yeah, I would
though.
say like
Yeah.
October, November, something like that. And they've already announced, like I said, the showrunner for Luke Cage, so they're already starting to work on that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that's not filming towards the fall.
You have to think that this stuff will get easier for them to do as these shows progress.
Right. And like I said, they're not going to wait, with as much
Oh.
positive reaction. They're not going to wait 2 years to do a season 2 of Daredevil. You know what I mean? So
Well, I'm sort of very confused because I thought that the original plan was that we were going to get 4 shows in 1 year,
That's what I thought as well.
and followed, capped by the movie, right, which would have been really cool. And then if things were successful, because there's been no discussion of a season 2 of anything, right? It's just been they signed a deal for 1 season of 4 shows and a movie.
Well, and I didn't think The Defenders was a movie. I thought that was like another show.
Well, no, it's like a 2-part, maybe 2 hours each, like a 4-hour sort of movie thing, right? You know, that's what I originally read. Now, God only knows that could have changed a dozen times by now.
And it may still change now, but depending on
exactly, right? So I don't know, but I can't imagine that based on. I mean, I just looked today, and IMDb, Daredevil has a 9.4 rating with like 25,000. Votes. That's a tremendously high score, right? So there's no way that Netflix and Disney aren't already at the table negotiating season 2.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, off to an amazing start.
Marvel does it again.
And I can't wait till everybody else has been caught up so we may have, discuss this further. Yeah. I hope I didn't go too much out of the realm of spoilers for you guys.
And like I think a few of you have said over the episode, Marvel really, and I totally agree with this, cannot do anything wrong right now.
Well, no, they could.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, well, yeah.
There are some things wrong with that, but I'm still enjoying it as a whole and as part of the universe.
I've only watched I think not even 2 episodes of that. I think I watched almost the first episode of Agent Carter. But
I did like that too, but I think those are more of the cheesier side of things than.
I mean, Agent Carter, I was kind of, Matt was telling me about it. He was kind of like, yeah, have you watching it? I was like, no. He said, they have some really cool I mean, they do. They show scenes from the Captain America movie, the first one, and so it all ties in. I mean, it's all part of it. So kudos to that.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure I'll watch it at some point. It's just not high on my radar at this point.
And in a month's time, we'll get the fall TV stuff for the networks, where there is talk of an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spinoff.
Now that's a little bit far.
Yeah, I think
not to mention the whole thing with the
that's pushing
Flash, Arrow characters getting their own series.
Yeah. See, that's sort of like gives me a kind of a bad
the
vibe,
spinoff of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's the first time that I thought...
necessary? You know what I mean? It's like, is that necessary?
I'm not sure that show is itself strong enough to
I didn't
spawn
think
a
so.
spinoff.
Exactly.
I think the big news would be, do they even renew S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Well, that's true.
I mean, to me, I think that energy and effort could be put better elsewhere than doing a spin-off of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that.
That to me just doesn't resound well, I think.
No, I totally agree with that.
But yeah, good Daredevil off to a good start with the Netflix series.
It's phenomenal. Magnificent.
All right. Is there anything else anybody wants to add before we call it a wrap here? Before Brian drives, we keep hearing where he's going.
Hey, I'm in the passenger seat.
I know, but turn signal. I heard a horn beep.
Right turn, Clyde.
I was searching for that movie to see if it was on Netflix or something.
No, I'm good. I'm glad. I'm just grateful that finally, that Daredevil finally gets his due, and that people are really enjoying it. I'm excited as a fan. So
very good. All right, then I guess that'll wrap it up for this episode. And once again, this episode is brought to you by Geek Nation Tours. Go to geeknationtours.com and check out their package for this year's New York Comic-Con. And also go to Scribd, that's Scribd, SCRIBD.com/comicgeekspeak for your free 30-day trial.
Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. To send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by the Comic Forums and let us know what you all think of Daredevil. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Thank you to everyone who contributes to the show and sends nice little Doctor Who-filled packages, as well as Muddle the Merds. Keep them coming because Pants always surprises Merd with them. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
Laser beams, opinions like the sea.